The relationship my mom had with Paul, she was his biggest advocate, his biggest cheerleader. She dedicated her whole life to taking care of my brother. So the day that my mom passed away, that's probably when the wheels started turning, that my mom had done so much to care for my brother, both my parents had, but my mom especially, that I didn't know how to step in and care for Paul. My dad was out of the country, so it was now up to me and Brent to figure out how to care for Paul. That 1 week, I had to quickly learn how to give him a shave, how to get him ready in the morning, how to give him a bath, how to make sure he takes his medications. So there was just a lot that we were thrown into in a very short amount of time of figuring out how to care for Paul.
We found ourselves having to tag team everything every day. As her father rushed back from India, we were having to juggle not only our jobs, but one of us had to juggle the doctors and the emergency care. One of us had to keep Paul, take him to his programs or take care of him.
I mean, I grew up knowing I was going to take care of my brother. I'm the oldest. I didn't know that job was going to come to fruition so quickly. Thankfully, my dad's still here and he's a great caretaker for Paul, but his health is of concern as well, and we're all getting older, right? Fear naturally overtakes, and what will that day look like when my dad can't provide care for himself, let alone my brother? What's that day going to look like when I'm going to have to perhaps sacrifice my career and my job to help care for my brother? And then ultimately, if my brother outlives all of us, the fear is, who's going to take care of him when I go, when all of those who are close to him right now go? And there's so much of me that thinks that I can do it. I can care for my brother the way my parents have, but I don't know. I don't know that I really can, as much as I want to be that one to care for him 100%. I don't know if I have that God-given talent that my parents have in caring for him. But I'm reminded that I need to find the best solution for not just Paul, but for myself as well. We don't know what that is just yet, but we're in the process of trying to figure that out. Some days it's emotionally challenging to even think about my brother with anybody else but me. But the reality is, we're going to need help.
In the generation that I grew up in the 60s and 70s, families had two choices. You would keep the individual at home and try your best to school them, educate them, or you would institutionalize them. My parents, of course, kept her at home, but it was literally, that's what you did. They stayed in the house, and she did not have any opportunities to really integrate into the community. Because of that, she really wasn't allowed to grow in as an adult to get any kind of independence. And I think as we all develop, that's part of growing up, is you learn to make choices.
And in effect, stifle her development by not allowing her to learn and do things on her own.
My mother was sole caretaker, basically, for Sharon, and the day came when she could not be there. And all of a sudden, it became a crisis in terms of how are we going to take care of Sharon?
My first call was to Whitney at
GCSS at the time.
In
it was
community.
Yeah.
And he got us into emergency foster care and put put us on the first step to what would be the kind of the course that we did for Sharon for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
I will say, once we kind of launched her into the GCSS InCommunity community,
we saw her evolve more in those 10 years than I had seen her evolve, growing up. Sharon's life, I think, would have been dramatically different had she had the opportunity as a younger person, if she had opportunities that's available today. Back in the 60s, I think she would be probably a pretty high functioning individual.
She may have been able to do some type of supported employment someplace.
Right.
As opposed to staying at home and not being able to do any of that. I mean, could she be totally independent? No. But could she have been much more
functional?
Yes. The worst time to transition somebody to a different environment is when you have to.
During a crisis.
That's the worst time. You need to do it when you don't have to. The best time to do it is when the parents and primary caregivers are still healthy.
Would I have done something different? I would have started transition for independent living at an earlier age.
My mom was her sole caregiver until she died in 2002. After the passing of my mom, I became her caregiver. Yeah, just doing what a caregiver, does. A caregiver really takes on the role of a parent because, you got to provide for this person. You got to know what their needs are. You got to make adjustments. You got to change your lifestyle. It's a big responsibility. You got to do whatever you can. That's what family is about, is taking on this role, taking whatever challenges come with it, being organized and being detail-oriented has helped me be able to care for Ruth. The challenges come when you are looking for resources for her and there are none there. So it's a lack of resources. I applied for the Medicaid waiver program, and some of this stuff I don't even understand because I've never had to care for someone who was disabled. That would have produced some type of funding that we could probably have used for Ruth to go to some kind of day programs, increase her skills, her social skills, maybe attend some kind of vocational training somewhere. But until this day, we still don't have that. So that's a challenge. And just being able to live a full quality life, just like anybody else, even though she may have challenges or she may have a disability, but it still doesn't mean that she should not be able to live a full life like the rest of us. Congress, or I know for Georgia, they even cut some of the developmental disabled resources. And I feel like, you have to get the right people in office for them to understand your challenges. And until that happens, then we're still going to have some of these challenges. And then I think, too, a lack of resources just prevents them from living their best life that they could.
I need something to do.
Need stuff to do.
Mm-hmm. I get bored.
She gets bored. Yeah. I want to continue to try to put more things in place for people with disability. Not just for my sister, because it's not just for her. She's not the only one I hear with disability. It's not going to change if you don't have people out there. And it's not going to change with one or two people. You got to come together. I'm going to do everything in my being to care for her and to make sure she can live the best quality of life that she can.
I think it's great to become familiar with organizations such as InCommunity, to know that there are organizations that focus on this. for not just the individuals with developmental disabilities, but for the families as well. And to know that, okay, people have been down this path before.
And I think people do know that being in the community, being included on some level, it's the most healthy thing for the parents and the kids, and we can't talk enough about how important it is.
Don't be afraid to reach out, because help is out there. But you have to continue to search for these programs. Whatever it takes, don't give up.